Hello dear students, welcome to the another video tutorial of Parasitology. We have started the life cycle pathogenicity and control measures of various parasite. Okay, so in that we have completed with Plasmodium vivax, and yesterday we have concluded with the Entamoeba histolytica. Okay, so in today's session we will focus on the Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, so Ascaris lumbricoides, in the part first we are going to focus on the general classification and its morphology and geographical distribution of Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, so the general characteristics of the Ascaris lumbricoides are, or the Ascaris genus, it belongs to the kingdom Animalia, phylum Nematoda, class Caesarenerata, okay, order Ascaridae, okay, family Ascaridae, order Ascarida, okay, genus Ascaris and species Lumbricoides, okay. So its geographical distribution, okay. So it is a cosmopolitan, okay, as you can see, and having a worldwide distribution, being spatially uh, prevalent in tropics such as China, uh, India, and Southeast Asia into the Asia itself. Okay, as you can see, and the parasite is common in agricultural areas where warm, uh, moist climate exists, and the regions where personal and community hygiene are lack. Okay, so whereas the community hygienes as well as the where agriculture areas where they are not directly contact with the soil. Okay, so that direct contact with the soil, or it may have chances, or it may have to get chance with the contact with these ascaris eggs or the adult ascaris, which or the circarid larvae of these ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, so what happen when that eggs or are get ingested by means of the oral route? Okay, so that lack of our personal hygiene or the hygiene standards leads to get infected with this particular uh, parasite known as Ascaris. Okay, so as you can see in the graph, that the prevalence is 50% more, is highlighted in the dark red or the pinkish, dark pink. Okay, so moderate prevalence, that will be more or less, um, more or than 10%, or the less than 50%. Okay, greater than or equal to 10%. Okay, so as highlighted in the some shade of pinkish, that the lightest pinkish shade will be the low prevalence areas. Okay, so as you can see in the Africa continent is highly highly having the distribution of these particular parasite. Okay, so at a moderate temperate zones are, or the temperate and subtropical and subtropical regions are occupied by means of this particular parasite. Okay, so as you can see in the Africa continent, the South Africa as well as the some of the um, Southeast Africa and the Southwest Africa or Northwest Africa is highly contaminated with these particular uh, the parasite. Okay, so as you can see in the moderate regions of the North America or the South America itself. Okay, so the various regions of Asia, as you can see, with the our India, with Bangladesh, some regions. Okay, yeah, from down there will be Singapore and all these things. Okay, so as you can see, the middle part of Mongolia and the uh, eastern part of China is also suffering from these particular parasite infections. Okay, so habitat of these Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, the adult worm is an endoparasite of human host, which lives freely in the lumen of the small intestine, or simply that lumen is also known as the jejunum. Okay, so it do not show the anchoring to the wall of mucosa. It is more common in children than the adults, because children have the one deficiency. When the deficiency level increases of minerals in the children's, that small children are habitual to eat soil, so that it having the more chances than the adult to have get contaminated with these Ascaris eggs, so that the possibilities is increase in the uh, children's. Okay, so it is most common in the children than the adult. Their number may be 1000 to 5000 as adult worms when they get well increased or the in the intestine. Okay, so in a single host, the worm feeds on the semi-digested food, that is known as the chyme of a food. Okay, when the bolus enters, the saliva mixes with that churning of that food, and that after that saliva mixes with that food, that um, food is uh, get into the our stomach, where the various acids and all these things are processing on that stomach. Okay, in the stomach on the food, and that food is rather converted into chyme or the chyme. So these particular Ascaris lumbricoides is feeding in the intestine on that chyme. Okay, so which is the uh, which is sucked by the sucking action of pharynx by means of these Ascaris, and it is suspected that the worm may suck the blood, okay, and tissue fluid by biting to the intestinal mucosa itself. Okay, so the worm feeds on the parietally digested food or the partially digested, and hence there is no stomach and esophagus, and it directly leads to the intestine. Okay, in this which is a long, straight and ribbon like mechanism of food digestion in this parasite itself. So it varies the clear, but various enzymes like amylase, lipase, esterase, and proteases having have been identified in the intestine of this particular Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, so they protect themselves from being digested by their host. Okay, but the presence of a thick cuticle on their body, on the Ascaris body, is having the presence of thick cuticle, which are uh, providing them little bit extra protection. Okay, so therefore these worms are not digested as a food in the gut of the host itself. So this parasite is called uh, microgrophilic, because it need very small quantity of the free oxygen. So they can survive in the less oxygen, as Entamoeba histolytica also surviving as in the less oxygen areas. Okay, so uh, the adult worms generate energy anaerobically, and on the other hand, the free living eggs and larval stages of these Ascaris need more oxygen of their metabolism and the uh, development. So the Ascaris lumbricoides are the largest, most familiar endoparasites of the man, freely living in the uh, lumen of the its host. Okay, so it has been reported for from animals like pigs, cattle, sheep, and the squirrels rather than the man. Okay, so it inhabits the small intestine of more frequently children than the adults, as I said. So it is cosmopolitan in distribution, and sometimes it migrates from the intestine to the stomach uh, and come out through the host nostrils, or sometimes some annelids are also found, or the ancylostoma, which is also one um, worm, okay, that may having the uh, prevalences in the some other type of the, they may come out from the nostrils or the ear or the eyes cavities. Okay, so the external morphology of Ascaris lumbricoides. First point will be the shape and size of this particular parasite. So the Ascaris lumbricoides is elongated, cylindrical, and gradually tapering at the both ends, uh, the anterior end being cylinder than the posterior. Okay, so tapering means what? The निमुळतेपणा म्हणतो आपण त्याला. So it elongated and cylindrical, the circular in shape, and elongated means long, uh, it length is much bigger. So the anterior end uh, is most blunt than the posterior. Okay, so it is the largest size nematodes, so it belongs to the nematoda. So it is the largest nematode found in the world. So it shows sexual dimorphism, that is the sexes are separate, male is separate and the female is separate. So the female measures 20 to the 40 centimeter in length and 4 to 6 millimeter uh, in the diameter with the straight tail. That means female is longer than the male. Okay, how much longer? It's 5 to the 6 times longer. Okay, uh, and the male is smaller, measures to the 15 to 31 centimeters. Okay, actually the longest male or the which are surviving the long period of time, that are measures in between 15 to the 31 centimeters, but as it get adult and get sexually matures, the female is near about 40 centimeter long, and the male will be uh, in between the 15 to the 20 centimeters. Okay, so the cuticle covering of the body surfaces bears a minute transverse striations that will be giving a worm pseudo-segmented appearance. Okay, pseudo-segmented means what? It is not completely segmented. Okay, it will get partially segmented appearance to this particular worm. Okay, second thing is the coloration. So generally the nematodes having no color. Okay, as you can see, the other nematodes are not having any sort of color, that are simply transparent in nature, or but in the Ascaris, the fleshy excreted worm is yellowish pink in color. Why this yellowish pink? Why the fleshy? That means when that ascaris is having the stored fat, okay, so that stored fat is somewhat giving the yellowish structure or the structures to these particular parasite, okay, that yellowish pink in color. That means very fleshy or the thick um, parasites, okay, that having the yellowish pink in color, which gradually changes to white, okay. It seems like seems like white, but having a shade of a yellowish pink on that, okay. So the longitudinal streak or the lines, as you can see, the as you moving to the anterior to the posterior side, as on these longitudinal cylindrical body has four longitudinal lines and one narrow mid dorsal or and one mid ventral and two three one are the lateral lines, okay. As you can see, some dotted lines on these particular ascaris, you can feel it, okay. So the lines are visible externally, okay. The dorsal and ventral lines appear pure white, and while lateral lines appears brown, okay. So the ventral lines, which is vertical lines, uh, are appear as a white, as if you see in the microscope or the lenses provided magnification lenses in the laboratories, okay. So while lateral lines appears brown in color, okay. So the excretory pore is situated in mid ventrally, a little behind the lips, okay. Means at the ventral section, the mid ventral section of this ventral side having the excretory pore, okay, the presence of the anus of this particular insect or the parasite, sorry. So the genital pore and anus opening separately in the female, okay. So the genital pore and the anus opening is separated, and the genital pore is situated mid ventrally about one third of the anterior end, okay. So the anterior end, as you can see, the anterior and posterior side, we are going to elaborate what are the specifications of this particular parasite at the each end. So the both sexes have same anterior structures, okay. The Ascaris have no eyes. There is no need of eye in the intestine, okay. So it is rounded, bearing a small terminal tetrad mouth, okay, and aperture guarded by three bored lips of the labia, or it's also named as the labia. One lip is mid dorsal and broadly elliptical, okay, and two are subventral or the lateroventral or the oval in the shape, okay. So these Ascaris anterior end of this particular Ascaris lumbricoides or the Ascaris species. So one is the upper side and the other two on the lower side of this mouth cavity of this Ascaris. So the dorsal anterior exterior of the labial parenchyma bears minute dentricles. Okay, so the minute dentricles having to the for a sensation purpose, okay, and the outer surface of each lip bears the minute sensory papillae or the labial, okay. So as you can see the labia in the cockroach, so likewise the same function of this particular type of mandible type is going to perform by means of this particular parasite itself. So the labial papillae are hair-like structures used to um, tackle reception. Okay, that means it is for the identification purpose and are very sensitive to vibrations and the touch. Okay, so these sensations are also seen in this particular parasite, very very minute. Okay, so the as you can see, the posterior end of this particular parasite, the posterior end of the body shows clear sexual dimorphism in these particular two adults of these male and female of the Ascaris lumbricoides. In females, the posterior extremity of is conical and straight. Okay, so the mid-ventral transverse apertures, or it also known as the anus, uh, guarded by the pair of posterior papillae. Okay, so the only the digestive tubes open to the outside through the anus. So in males, the tail ends in the curve ventrically in the form of the hook with a conical tip. Okay, so the in male anus is replaced by cloaca. Okay, it is common aperture for the rectum and the genital tubes itself in male. So two copulatory city means what? It is the protruded from the aperture outside, known as the city. So they are called pineal seta or the spicules. It is also known as the spicules. The city serves to transfer sperm into the female vagina during the copulation. Okay, so the male tail is characterized by the numerous genital papillae ventrally located, about 50 pairs of the pre-anal papillae and the 5 pairs of the posternal papillae. Okay, so the general papillae of a male help in the copulation. Okay, so the anterior pairs of a posternal papillae are double, while the rest are the single ones. So as you can see, the sixth highlighted point on this external morphology of the particular parasite known as the Ascaris lumbricoides is the excretory pore lies mid-ventrally and near the anterior end. Okay, so the female gonadopore or the gonopore, so at about one third of the entire length from the anterior end, the body is narrower in the females. Okay, and this regions is known as the vulvar west. Okay, so the as you can see, the vulvar west means what the it is scientifically named about these gonadopores of these ascaris, named as the vulvar west. Okay, so the female genital aperture called vulva, okay, or the gonadopore is situated on the ventral surface of the vulvar west. Okay, so the genital pore on the female opens into the cloacats. Okay, but the anal opening and the uh, female gonad or the vaginal opening is separated on the anterior side of the female itself. So this will be the as you can see, the adult Ascaris lumbricoides, the adult female and male worms in the highlighted with the A named as a capital A. Okay, so the vulvar wist, you can see the band, or there will be the opening of the genital uh, uh, or the that opening of the gonadopore, or the situation, or the place of this gonadopores or in the female. The longest one, as you can see, that is the female, and the shorter one is the male. Okay, and one specific characteristic of the male that it having the uh, circulated tail. Okay, okay. So these copulatory spicules you can see on that tail. Okay, that bifurcation of that spicules you can see in the that picture D. Okay, so the anal opening you can see in the picture C. Okay, it is situated uh, uh, beneath of this um, dorsoventrally flattened uh, tail. Okay, so as you can see in the picture B, the dorsal lip. Okay, that is the one dorsal lip. Okay, the papilla. Okay, the ventral lip, which are the two in the number. Okay, so as you see in the E highlighted by the capital E, that is the specimen showing the Ascaris lumbricoides, male and female. So we also have the specimens of these Ascaris lumbricoides at our zoological department. Okay, so these protruding copulatory spicules in the male is important to pass the sperms into the vagina while the at a time of the copulation itself. So as you can see the real-time images of these adults Ascaris lumbricoides, the female, as you can see the whitish in the color and a thick cuticle is having with these particular on the body. Okay, so as you can see the structure of the microscopic elaborated structures of the eggs of the Ascaris lumbricoides, which look like the somewhat golden appearance in the nature. So we are going to stop here and we are concluding the part first. Okay, so in the part second of the Ascaris lumbricoides we are going to get touch with the life cycle. Okay, um, these some part of the uh, reproductive system, which how that reproductive system of the Ascaris is working in the male and the female separately. Okay, um, and development in the human. Okay, um, and the other things like the other the prevention and control and the prophylaxis. Okay, as time permits. Okay, thank you everyone.